Hello, Rosarito Beach. It's Kanoa here, Baja123.com and RosaryLiving.com, and I'm here with Darrell.
Hi, everyone.
We were talking earlier about some of the things to be careful with and watch out with Sentry, and I thought it was a great piece of information. So can you tell us a little bit about what happened with the Sentry program?
Since obtaining a Sentry card myself and my family, I've learned several little things that you really kind of, initially when you obtain a Sentry card, they give you the rules and regulations and things you kind of glance over and read, but you really, it isn't until later on when you're using it on a regular basis you realize how important certain things are and all the little nuances and facts and things that people don't know about that you start to determine really is important.
What are some of the things you would suggest if you were going to advise the clients or people coming down here to do with the Sentry?
I think you got to realize that as a trusted traveler, you are an example of someone who's going to cross that border and pay attention and obey the rules. And by doing that, you really need to go over the rules and regulations of the Sentry program and be able to cross the border and do everything in an orderly fashion so that it happens quickly, such as having all the documents in your car, presenting them to the border agent when you get there, having your immigration information, your Sentry card, those things in your hand as you cross the border I think is important. Not having a baseball cap on, not wearing eyeglasses, having all the windows down in your car so they can see everyone who's in your car crossing the border with you, not having your radio on, not being distracted, not being on your cell phone, not having headphones on listening to music.
Kind of common sense kind of things, right?
It seems common sense, but a lot of people as they're waiting in line to cross the border, they're just doing their thing, waiting and buying time, and then when they get up there they forget that what they're doing, and they show up and they got hats and sunglasses on and the radio's on and their kids on the telephone or on their iPad or tablet, and those are just little things. But even on top of that, just even being prepared before you get there, knowing how to get there, knowing that you should
what you have in your car, maybe
what you have in your car is super important. You can't cross the border with agricultural items and meats and soil samples and all the things that you can't go across the border with.
Fruit is a big one I know that they don't like. Yeah.
It's a huge one. I know several people, I've heard of stories where people crossing the border, snacking on some fruit as they cross the border, who don't declare, and the border agent looks at them sideways as they get there, and they're like, anything to declare? And they're like, no, I'm fine, just eat my apple. Right? And next thing you know, they don't have their Sentry card, right?
The secondary, without their Sentry, sure.
Absolutely. So very important, knowing what you can and can't cross. Other things like you can cross with a liter of alcohol or a carton of cigarettes one time every 30 days. Another item that's I don't think a lot of people pay attention to. A lot of people like to bring home bottles of tequila and things for their family.
Or wine, because we're in the wine country up here. Yeah.
They bring alcohol across the border for family, for gifts, and they often forget how much you can bring. They want to bring a whole case across the border, hand out to all their family, and they can't.
I like to think, I've been crossing now for years, and it's if we can make their jobs easier when we get to there, then they seem to be appreciative of that. If we're gonna, have the windows up, have the baseball caps on, the glasses on, make it hard for them to look into the vehicle, have tons of stuff in there that then they're gonna, obviously they're gonna want to go through the stuff and make it more difficult for you to get across. Like you're saying right now, the easier we can make it for them by the time we get there, the more I feel cordial they are about, okay, great, they do a quick glance, and then they usually say, if all your paperwork and everything looks right, then they're like, go on through.
That's correct. If it only takes you a couple seconds to get across the border, it's important, because if it takes you 20 seconds, which doesn't seem like a lot, or 30 seconds, and everybody's 20 or 30 seconds, well, you start adding up all the people in the line, those 30 seconds, it makes it longer and longer the wait. If everybody's prepared and goes across the border and within a few seconds, the line moves very quickly.
One of the things I always do is I always roll my windows down, like you're saying. I don't want, because they're going to tell you to roll the windows down, especially if you have kind of tinted windows. Just roll them down. Like you say, take your baseball cap off, make it easy for them. Have your passport ready, right? Pay attention to the green and red lights. Don't make them tell you to come on.
Pay attention to the hand signals as they're waving you in or telling you to stop and what to do. Again, all very important things. If they see that you know what you're doing and you're crossing the border and you know the rules and your windows are down and your hat's off, they're more likely just to let you pass by. But if they see you're totally distracted and not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and they start wondering, well, if that's a problem and he's not paying attention to that, what else is he not paying attention to?
Right, exactly. I agree completely. There was some other things that I think that we could give some people advice with if they are signing up for Sentry is one of the things you were telling me that they got to be aware of is their address, right?
Yes, address is very important. A lot of people use mailing addresses as their physical address, and it's very easy if you're using a mailing address for something to happen with a person or a person associated with that mailing address that you're not aware of, and it could completely affect you or get you revoked from the program completely when it's nothing you've done and it's not your fault.
So what happens is somebody's going to use a mailing address. If somebody sends something or does something that isn't right at that mailing address, that address then will get flagged, and anybody and everybody that's using that mailing address could have their Sentry cards revoked.
Absolutely correct.
I don't think a lot of people think that, because a lot of people that live down here are using mailing addresses across, in San Diego, and from there they probably could have put those down on their Sentry cards, right? Or their Sentry Pro applications. So if you've done that, it's probably a good idea to maybe go and change that, because you would hate to have your whole Sentry and your family and everybody involved in it, have them all disqualified because of somebody doing something stupid at that address.
That's correct, and it's really common because a lot of people move around down here, they rent down here, they own their addresses changed down here, and rather than trying to get online and update their addresses regularly, they just give a mailing address because it's simpler. But in the end, all it takes is something completely beyond your control to happen, and everybody, including your little kids and your family, everybody gets their card revoked.
Yeah, which would just be devastating, because I know a lot of people count on those Sentry cards, because there could be crossing for work, or they could be crossing for medical reasons, and it just is something that it would be awful to have them pull those Sentry cards for something they had nothing to do with.
That's correct, and something right along those lines that I should talk about over there is, again, dropping off passengers and their belongings. A lot of people like to go down across the border, and not everyone in their car has a Sentry pass. But they don't want to drop them off and make them wait in line, so they all want to visit as long as they can and then drop them off last minute into the line, which they can't do. It's actually against the program rules. Once you're on the United States side of the border, everyone has to be out of the car that's not a Sentry card holder, as well as all their belongings. So you need to make sure you're dropping off passengers who are not Sentry card holders ahead of time before you get in the line.
Is that what
it's best if you can before you get in the line, or there is a certain distance in the line you can go. There's a stop sign along the line there. That's about the point where the border actually is. And if you get anyone dropped off before then, you're fine, and their belongings. But again, it's going to delay. If you're in line and then they got to get suitcases out of the car and do this and do that, and you're stopped holding up the line, it can be an issue. It really works better if you drop everyone off ahead of time that's not a Sentry card holder than getting yourself in line in the car with the people who are Sentry card holders and their actual belongings. And again, not anyone else's who's not a Sentry card holder.
And I don't think people realize how easy it is to get their Sentry card taken away from them. It's super easy. So if you're not following the rules in any way or form, they'll pull you from the program and they'll revoke that right to do it, and they'll make you go through the regular
That's
lanes.
correct. Even a bad attitude will do it to you.
Even a bad attitude.
If you're driving across the border and then you're late for work, and this is the day you don't want to get secondary inspected or something, and you get randomly chosen to be looked in your car and you argue with them because you're in a hurry, that'll get you revoked too.
I think this is all great information, because we want to have everyone to have a good lifestyle, good experience down here, and the Sentry program is a great program, and we want people to use it and enjoy it, and hopefully come down here and be able to use both sides of the border the best they can.
Absolutely. I think, like I said, it's a total game changer to have a Sentry card down here. It's a great privilege. Everyone who's living down here, in part, to have that lifestyle down here, to be able to take advantage of both sides, all the great things on both sides of the border, you really want to have that Sentry card.
You sell real estate down here too. If somebody's looking to buy real estate, how can they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. You can find me on the website at Baja123. I have my own bio page there. I also have a Google business website you can locate me at, and I'd be happy to help you. I believe completely in we're not only selling real estate down here, we're selling a lifestyle, and I want people to enjoy all the great things that I found down here in the Baja, and I would love to show them everything that I found and how to take advantage of all those great things.
Well, I really appreciate working with you. I love having you as part of the company, and thank you for coming in and sharing this information.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you for watching our video. If you're planning to buy, sell, or rent here in the Rosarito Beach area, please give us a call.